You know that metal box in your basement or garage? The one with all the switches? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that thing. It's your circuit breaker panel. And it's not just a bunch of switches, it's the silent guardian of your home's entire electrical system. And we're going to show you exactly how it keeps you and your family safe.
I want you to think of your breaker panel as a protective shield for your home. It's literally on duty 24/7, constantly watching over every wire, every outlet, looking for any sign of trouble.
So, to make sense of it all, here's our game plan. We're going to start with how this shield works. Then we'll get into the hidden dangers it protects you from. After that, we'll look at some modern upgrades. And then, the part you've probably been waiting for, what to do when a breaker trips and when it's time to just call a pro. All right, let's dive in.
Okay, let's start with the absolute basics. Every standard circuit breaker out there has two main jobs, and these have been protecting homes for a very long time. If you can get these two things down, everything else will make a whole lot more sense.
So, first up is overload protection. Imagine this. You plug in a space heater, a toaster, and a coffee maker all into the same outlet. That's a ton of power being pulled through one little wire, right? The wire gets hot, and that's a fire risk. Well, inside the breaker, there's a clever little metal strip that also heats up. When it gets too hot, it actually bends and click, it trips a switch and cuts the power. It's basically a little firefighter, stopping a problem before it starts. Then you've got short circuit protection. This is for something much more violent, like when two frayed wires touch. You get this massive sudden surge of electricity. An electromagnet inside the breaker senses this huge surge and reacts instantly, in a fraction of a second, to shut everything down before it causes a major catastrophe.
But here's the thing. Those standard breakers, they have blind spots. They're great at stopping the big, obvious problems. But what about the sneakier threats? The ones that can slip right past their defenses? Let's talk about the hidden dangers that a lot of modern homes face.
First, let's talk about something called an arc fault. And you need to know this because these are a leading cause of electrical fires. Picture a tiny little lightning storm happening inside your walls. That's an arc fault. It happens when a wire gets damaged, maybe a nail went through it or a mouse chewed on it. This isn't just a little spark. It's a superheated arc that can hit over 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hot enough to vaporize metal. It'll ignite wood, insulation, whatever's nearby in an instant.
The other hidden danger is a ground fault. This is when electricity leaks out of the wire and tries to find a shortcut to the ground. And if the fastest path to the ground happens to be through you, say you're holding a faulty appliance and you touch a metal sink, well, that's how you get a very dangerous electric shock.
And that's what's so terrifying about a ground fault. This isn't about protecting your TV or your microwave. This is about protecting your life. And this right here is exactly why modern breaker technology is so absolutely crucial.
So the good news is electrical tech has come a long, long way. We now have these specialized guardians that are designed specifically to hunt down and stop these hidden threats, bringing a whole new level of safety right into your home. Let me introduce you to your home's new superheroes. On the left, you've got the AFCI breaker. Think of it like a smoke detector, but for your wiring. It's constantly listening for the unique electrical noise that a dangerous arc makes, and it shuts down the power before a fire can even think about starting. Then, on the right, you've got the GFCI breaker. This is your personal bodyguard against electric shock. It can sense the tiniest leak of current, way less than what would harm you, and it shuts the power off in the blink of an eye. And hey, here's a cool tip you can use. Go take a look at your breaker panel later. You can often tell these advanced breakers apart just by the color of their little test button. As you can see here, AFCIs often have a blue or a teal button, while the GFCIs usually have a white one. It's a really simple visual clue that tells you what kind of protection you've got.
Now, for the ultimate in safety, you can actually get the best of both worlds. They make dual-function breakers that combine both AFCI fire protection and GFCI shock protection into one single device. It's your fire detector and your bodyguard all rolled into one. It's honestly the most comprehensive protection you can get for a circuit.
Okay, so what happens when one of these guardians actually does its job and trips, and suddenly the lights go out in the living room? It can be a little startling, right? But there is no need to panic. Here's a calm, simple, step-by-step plan to figure out what's going on. Okay, first just take a breath. Head to your panel and look for the one switch that's not lined up with the others. It'll either be in the middle position or fully off. Now, before you touch anything, just do a quick scan. Look for obvious trouble, like a blackened outlet or a frayed cord. If you don't see anything, here's the most important part. Unplug everything on that circuit. Laptops, lamps, TVs, all of it.
Now you can go back and reset the breaker. Push it firmly all the way to the off position and then flip it back to on. If the power stays on, great. Now you can start plugging things back in one by one until you find the culprit.
Now this is where modern breakers get really, really smart. A lot of them have these little diagnostic LED lights that are basically a secret decoder for your electrical system. They tell you why the breaker tripped. This is a total game changer. If there are no lights, it was probably just a simple overload. No big deal. But if you see a light on, that breaker is trying to tell you something important. As this chart shows, it's telling you it detected a serious threat, like an arc fault or a ground fault. This isn't just info, it's an early warning system.
Here is a super simple habit that could literally save your life. Test your AFCI and GFCI breakers once a month. Think of it just like testing your smoke detectors. All you do is press the little test button. The breaker should trip immediately with a clunk. If it does, great. Just flip it back on and you know your guardian is awake and on duty. But if you press that button and nothing happens, that's a real problem. That breaker needs to be replaced right away.
So while you can safely check out a simple trip, there are some situations that are a crystal clear sign that you're out of your league. Look, electrical work is not a DIY project. Your safety is what matters most. Here's when to put the flashlight down and pick up the phone.
So if you've unplugged everything and that breaker still trips the second you try to reset it, that's a huge red flag. That means the problem isn't your stuff, it's somewhere in the wiring. If you smell anything burning, even faintly, or see any black scorch marks, stop. Do not pass go. And honestly, if you just have a gut feeling that something's not right, listen to it. Never, ever guess when it comes to electricity. Your family's safety is on the line. It's time to call a qualified licensed electrician.
Understanding what's going on inside your home's walls is really empowering. It helps you handle the little things, and maybe more importantly, it helps you recognize when you're in over your head. Because when it comes to electricity, that peace of mind is absolutely priceless. So take a look at your panel tonight. Do you know which guardians are watching over your family?